Good morning, Andy here. I am joined today by Chris and Danielle Wolowitz. Danielle and Chris are part owners of Shore Business, a Sharp dealer down at the Shore, Jersey Shore down in the southern, mid-southern part of New Jersey. Is that where you guys are? How are you?
We're good. We're
doing well. Yes, we are. That's where we are, the beach.
Excellent. The beach. Actually, I've been down that area a ton of times. I saw on your website when I was looking at it earlier, your Blue Claws sponsors. I've actually been to the Blue Claw Stadium. I've been to games there. My sister lives down in your area, so I'm familiar with how things are going. But why don't you fill in the viewers? How are things in the Jersey area, down by the shore?
Good. So down here, obviously during the pandemic, it's getting a little crazy, and some things are closed, and we're not seeing the amount of traffic of people this time of year we usually do coming down here. But we're still here. We're still doing our every day working our business, and we're here to support the customers. But just like anybody else, I think in the world, it's people are kind of regrouping a little bit and getting ready to hopefully open up the gates soon and get back to it pretty hard.
Very cool. I should have opened with congratulations. You guys are 40 years old. Not exactly the way you probably wanted to celebrate this. I can see people seem to be working all over the place, and you're no different. Chris, you look like you're down at the office, and Danielle, you look like you're in Office 2.0. Danielle, why don't you tell us how is it working down there? Many of my viewers obviously very familiar with Danielle from her past life with another one of the OEMs. Danielle, how is it managing, working? You just got your feet wet with this new role of yours, and now you're working at home, you're working at the office. Chris is at the office. You guys are all over the place. I saw some of your little assistants running around there earlier. How's it going?
Well, I got to say that going from the schedule that I used to have to this schedule it's the polar opposite. I mean, I was on a plane all the time, and if not on a plane, I was in a car, because as you know, I commuted quite a distance every day to get to the office. So to go from sitting in a car for 3.5 hours a day to not leaving my house, not exactly the way I planned this transition. I have confirmed that I could never be 100% work from home, but it's working well. My boys are going to be 8 in 2 weeks, and Chris and I have been trying our darndest to make sure that they keep up with their second grade work while also trying to maintain the business. It's good. It's a juggle every day, and you're right, Chris gets to go to the office, and I'm a little jealous of that. As I sit in the house, but that's okay.
I think it's funny how things have suddenly changed over the last month or two, because now it went from Chris has to go to the office to Chris gets to go to the office.
Yep.
Go on, I'm sorry, I had to just.
And I said I gotta get out of jail free card for tomorrow, so we're switching roles, and he's going to be homeschooling, and I'm going to be going to the office. But yeah, it's been really good. I mean, it's a very odd time right now down here. And normally April into May is when we start to see the craziness of the beach and the Jersey Shore, and everybody coming down to open their houses on the weekends, and the boardwalk's open, and everything's going on, and it's just not. But we are seeing a lot more of the locals out riding bikes. Our kids have joined the Quarantine Bike Riders Club, and they're learning how to ride two-wheelers. So
awesome.
It's little things like that are making it, easier to get through this, because we're doing it together. We're doing it with family.
So you guys, it's awesome to hear the balance, and it's fun to watch, especially with your dynamic as a husband and wife running this company. Now you guys were right in the middle of an expansion when this sort of hit, and you had just hired 3 brand new reps with no experience. A lot of companies are cutting, a lot of companies are furloughing. You were sort of put in a weird position. Chris, why don't you tell us, how did that go, and what did you do in this situation?
So, I mean, yeah, it kind of hit us right on March 30th was their start date, right in the middle of kind of the pandemic. And, it was a decision that we felt we were committed to these people. We made a commitment, at least a month ahead of time, and no one could foresee what was going to happen. So, unfortunately, these 3 individuals have already made this choice and have moved on from their old positions from where they were. So we felt that it was important to keep it going the way that we committed to them. So it's been challenging, because it was kind of like, hey, come to the warehouse, pick up your laptop, and then go home for the next, so far we're starting our 4th week now virtually.
Oh my gosh.
So that's been a change as far as, selling virtually is one thing, but now training virtually 100% at the same time was not something that we were really excited about starting, but it's been great. And that's kind of, Danielle's been really running that program from home, which has been incredible. And, they're not getting some of those other habits, let's say, being around the office, which is nice. They've transitioned into learning, let's call it a pure training program, because they'll sooner or later, I guess, will develop their own habits and how they're going to sell. But right now, there's no outside, things that are kind of checking in on them. So it was definitely something that was a surprise, but we felt that it was important to continue what we committed to, and so far it's been great. And you know what, I don't think we would change anything on how it was handled. I mean, I think we're using this as a kind of a reset button, and we're building our business as we're going. So it's a challenge, but it's definitely something that we feel was the right call.
Well, it's great to hear you're doing that. And again, with all the companies that are struggling right now in our industry and every industry with the furloughs and the layoffs, and to hear that you guys hired someone and then stood behind them like that, especially after, they left other positions. I'm sure that was, not an easy decision for you guys, maybe easier to make, from a mental standpoint than a financial, but, to carry 3 brand new people. Danielle, Chris mentioned the training. Can you maybe elaborate? What are you doing to keep them busy? How are they spending their days? I know a lot of dealers are really taking advantage of this downtime to sort of educate their people, and you've got, fresh clay here to mold. What are you doing? And then I do have to ask, have any of them closed a deal at all from the first month? So why don't you answer that, Danielle?
So from a training perspective, the manufacturer side of me, that whole role that I've had for the last, almost 20 years, training to me was key. And being able to train them the right way with that 30, 60, 90 approach gave us the opportunity that we wouldn't have had they been in the office. A lot of sales reps get thrown out to the wolves once they get into the office and do a couple of days of training, and a couple of days of training. Chris did too, right? Couple of days of training, and then off you go and figure it out. Here's your territory. Go get this.
Here's your book. Here's your territory. Go sell.
Yeah. So, a little bit, I guess, selfishly, I'm liking this and I'm excited about it because I feel like we're really getting to educate them the way we wanted to from the very beginning, and the way that I've always thought would be the keys to success. So they have a strict schedule that they work off. My God, it's a Tetris game of an Excel file that Chris and George looked at me like I had 6 heads when I showed them. They are busy every day, all day, and they have set blocks of time when they're supposed to do certain webinars with me. They start the day with Zoom calls with me. They do one-on-ones with Chris, with George Krebs, who's our president. They do, the first week was all one-on-ones with each employee. So they had time to meet everybody, from our service techs to our warehouse guy, to our driver, to our sales admin, and they did a half hour with each person. And then since then, they are fully certified on gold certification with Sharp. They have completed their first 30-day certifications with Kyocera. They are now moving into Fiery because we just found out that EFI is offering some free training for the next couple of weeks on their side. KIP-wide format, they're going to be doing those in the next couple of weeks. And then we're going to be working on some of the CRM and TCO tools that are out there. So we've been keeping them as busy as possible. The first 2 weeks, they felt like it was overload, and they all said to me, like, I'm hearing all these phrases and I don't know where, like, what's a bypass versus a multi-purpose trip?
Oh my gosh, yep.
They're the same thing.
It's acronym city, right? And
yeah,
I used to do a lot of training. I haven't done one in a little while, but I used to train these reps when they would come on, and that was one of the things I spent a good amount of time on. Just the simple phrases, an LCT and what is duplex? Because duplex really means two-sided copying, but for some reason our industry made up a word that nobody else understands, and that's what we go with, right? So good segue, perhaps. You guys represent some of the world's biggest OEMs, technology companies, and you're not the biggest reseller in the world, you're not the smallest, but Chris, why don't you give us a little background? What's the response been like from your vendors, the support? Is there anyone you'd like to shout out to for some good things? Is there anyone you'd like to shout at for some maybe some, light a fire under them? How's it been going with you and support for your vendors?
Being a dual line dealer, you get to see really two different companies and how they operate, right? We've been fortunate enough that both manufacturers have been, let's say, more than supportive. And quite frankly, the timing of their programs, let's say of, their extensive Zoom training on the Sharp and Kyocera has really folded in nicely into our training program, really, where I don't think that would have been available to us as much as it is today. So, I mean, the support from both of them has, I would say, been really neck and neck. There's no way outdoing anybody on either side of the fence. Even quotas, looking at quotas and inventory levels and working with and really just the feel good touching base with us and checking in. Hey, how you doing? What's going on with the business? How are new hires doing? Anything else that we can offer? To compare the two, which is kind of, I guess, what you do as a dual dealer with a lot of things, you always say like, oh, what am I getting here? What am I getting there? It's been great on both sides of the fence, really. The support has been, I don't think we could have asked for anything more. Well,
they're two great companies, and there's a lot of other good ones out there too. But you do have two that are known for being very, tight with their dealers, close relationships. So it's good to hear that in this time we're all dealing with that. They're still behind you. They're still doing what they need to do, and they're obviously dealing with their own problems as well. But the fact that they're still calling you, making sure you're okay, is great. Danielle, why don't you tell us about your customers and what are the things you're seeing from them? Are there certain customers? Obviously, healthcare is probably you're seeing a little more busyness around them, a little more action around them, but obviously you've got some other areas where maybe they're things are a little slower. So what's the shift been like? What's keeping your people busy during the day? What are you doing maybe to protect your team as they go out there and go in doing installations and maintenance and things like that? How's it going out in the field with your customers?
So, we have implemented a remote first approach to all of our service, and we did that back in, mid-March. So we definitely looked around at what some of our counterparts around the country were doing and how they were handling it, and took some pointers from what they were working on and how they were approaching it. And we take every attempt possible to resolve a problem via remote tech before we will go into a customer location. But we're not opposed to going into the customer location as long as we confirm that they have the right protocols in place. And that's everything from wiping down the equipment before we get there, maybe having the doors open already. Anybody who is in the office wearing masks and gloves, which I know in New Jersey is required, in other states maybe not. But our techs, actually, we were fortunate enough that I got my hands on some disposable masks right up front. We were able to get those out to everybody, including wipes and gloves and hand sanitizer. So we've been okay in keeping everybody stocked with that stuff, which has been good. And the techs, although they're working at home, what they're doing is going on a rotating schedule. So one tech will be considered homeschooling and taking online classes and certifications, while the other one is remote service. And then the next day they swap. So that this way we always have at least 2 techs, if not 3, that are able to go out and respond to calls. We have our phones forwarding to cell phones and email so that we can get right on top of everything when it comes to service calls. And the customers for us, we have a lot of the more local down the street business, a lot of those commercial accounts. And obviously a lot of them are not deemed essential, so they're closed at the moment. We've offered assistance for anybody that has transitioned to work from home. But then we have quite a few townships that actually, they need the help. They need the service. They need the supplies. They need whatever it may be. And we're there to do that. And we've told them that we'll continue to support them to the best of our ability and hopefully no interruption in service. So that's, I think, Chris, unless there's anything else you want to add, I think that we have not had to decline one service request since this all started, but we've made sure that we have taken the safety of not only our own people, but our customers into consideration in every instance.
Sure. And, the biggest change is, let's call it the education market, right? Where there's no clicks going on right now. So that's kind of been, let's say, an opportunity, let's say. All right. So the medical side, it's different because you have different types of medical, right? You have the essential versus non-essential within medical, because some of them are elective operations and elective, visits that are not operational right now, where then you have a medical billing company who's blowing the doors off their machines right now, which is hitting all fast.
Yeah.
So you're right, Andy, there's more than a couple different things going on. And, within the first 30 days of this and trying to navigate, really, we're learning more every day about where our concentration should be going forward and where the need is or will be to continue, let's say. So it's interesting that way. And the other thing I want to add too is, we've had numerous requests, let's say, not numerous, but enough requests that have been from people looking for on-site service and that were not customers of ours at the time, that maybe either have been forwarded from another dealer or maybe somebody that had a machine on time materials. If we can't fix it remotely, we're not sending our techs, or we don't think it's a good idea to go into an environment that we have never even been in. We just don't know what we're walking into. So for the safety of our organization and our own people, we've decided that it's remote, like Danielle's saying, for a new customer, 100%. Otherwise, we take their name and say, when we're past this and down the road, we'll reach out at that point. So
it's tough, you've got safety first, right? And especially where you guys are, you're right down the street from the epicenter of it. So, it's trickling out. I'm sure it's in your community. It's in mine too. And, we're a little further down the thruway, but it's everywhere. So, we all have to deal with it, and, it's safety first. I guess at this point, I'll ask you both if there's any shout outs you'd like to make to anyone out there watching. Danielle, why don't you wrap up, and then Chris, you finish it, and then we'll say goodbye.
I mean, just like Chris was saying before, to the staff over at Sharp and over at Kyocera, and now the guys that we're working with at KIP, they have just been phenomenal. From the one-on-one attention to the group webinars to the training, we couldn't have gotten through all of this without their help and their continued support. So we really do appreciate it. I feel that we're very fortunate that we have the opportunity to be able to leverage these resources. And even some of the, the organizations out there that we maybe didn't do business with in the past that have asked us, whether it's a leasing side or one of the analyst partners saying, what can we do to help? Is there anything that you guys need? And I think that's been great. And the biggest thing I think for us is our 40th anniversary. You said it at the beginning of this call.
Feel my thunder.
No. We were supposed to be at the Lakewood Blue Claws on Friday for a friends and family event. And I think, Andy, we'd even invited you and added you to that list.
I've been at Blue Claws Stadium. I've been there.
Well, we want to get back there, and we can't wait until things open up and we can celebrate and get out there and hopefully have a bunch of you guys come and join us. So.
Oh, I can't wait to come down for that. Chris, how about you? Now that she stole your thunder.
Yeah, really. Kind of left me out here hanging.
Welcome to our world.
But, to be involved in the opportunity that we're involved in today, to be a part and be able to buy into a business that's been here for 40 years is, there's something truly to be said about that. And George Krebs, who's my partner and president, and, he's been here since day one, and he's next to me in the other office down the, that kind of thing. And he's here every day. But without that, let's say, family mentality of how this business started and how we're continuing the family business, it's important to us, and, to reach out to, the same vendors that have been here and involved for this many years. It's kind of really created a really incredible atmosphere for us and our employees. And I think it's something that we're going to be around for a while and keep building on.
Well, I appreciate you guys taking the time to chat with me this morning. You both have just very strong, very long, you're both very well known and have great reputations in this industry. To see you come together in what is a family industry, and then buy into this dealership with George and possibly a couple little sales reps I just saw running around there earlier that you talked about. It's just it's a family industry. I have a page with dozens and dozens of pictures of dealer families. I got to get one of you guys now. That just occurred to me. I don't have one of you, the two of you, now that you're a family operation, right? So I definitely want you to send a picture of me at your shop, and I'll get that on the website. But thanks so much for spending some time to me, and we'll check in a few weeks or a month or two, and see what the progress has been like. But stay safe, and thanks again for taking time with me this morning.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you, Andy.